Part 13. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 122. Oh, Baiji's modest expression of humbly asking for advice, is the predecessor already confident of going out of the valley? The brick seemed to find that the white hair was bitter and sloshing. It was slippery. It slipped to the end of the white hair. His mouth was biting the white hair tightly, and then he swung around Baiji's waist. The swinging bricks are getting bigger and bigger, and they completely treat Baiji's hair as a swing frame. Baiji's head was stiff and motionless. He felt that he really couldn't stand it. Too bullying. This snake was a brick, making him want to explode in 1 minute and end up with these guys. Baiji's face was so bruised that Yanj didn't notice his emotional problems. Even if she noticed that, she wouldn't care, since this guy has been enraged, either on the verge of anger or on the verge of anger. She has long been used to it. I can't help it for the time being, but I think you can figure it out. Yan Ji touched his white hair with his tail. At that time, her head was always stabbed by this guy. As a result, she felt a shadow in her heart, and when she saw the mighty one, she wanted to get revenge and give him a shot. Baiji's body was stiffer. Because of the severe tolerance, he could even hear the rattling of bones and the crackling sound in his blood that wanted to explode at any time. Think slowly, Yanj said like a kind elder, with a tolerant and kind voice. I believe you will come up with a solution. I am not in a hurry. Baizhiji, he couldn't stand these two animals/births. The Shura array will be entrusted to you. Yan Ji yawned. I continue to go for a while. I hope I can hear your good news when I wake up. After speaking, she slipped off Baiji's body and climbed up the big tree again. The brick still swinging on Baiji's hair. Baiji stood still for a long time. Still the song was on the tree, and he was curious and asked, is there anything else? This bird/beast. He wants to kill her. Baiji, who had heard the words, took a deep breath and smiled up at her, thinking that the smile on her face was considered to be the ultimate and profound affection. But the song was startled. The guy's face was so swollen, his teeth were gone, and a few white teeth were left. This guy, smiling so swayingly at a snake, couldn't beat her, and wanted to seduce? It's a bird/witness to lure her into such a snake. Yan Ji asked him coldly, what is it? Baiji, I have no clue about how to solve the Shura array. I don't know how much my predecessors know about the Shura array. Can you give me some pointers? I don't understand at all. Yanj raised his head. You always played with the bricks during this time. I thought you had an idea to let you go like this. Since you don't have a clue, you put away the fun. Do a lot of research and study. You can't look like it. Baiji, I really want a brick to smash the snake into meat. The scalp hurts, but the brick swinging from the hair has increased its strength. Baiji almost broke his teeth in his mouth. With a sigh of relief, Baiji could only vent his anger on the research team. As long as he leaves the valley, he can make his cultivation ascend, and at that time, he must crush these two animals/raw into mud. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 123. Two animals/births enjoy themselves, one hiccups on a branch every day, and one swings on Baiji's hair every day. Baiji wants to explode like a bomb every day, but he can bear it. As Baiji's heart demon, he has endured so many centuries in Baiji's heart, and now this is nothing. Already learned to adjust his state, whenever he wanted to explode in place, Bai's Hickson began to imagine the image of the small white snake smashed into mud with bricks. Patience makes him grow. This Shura array under the previous silly white sweet cloth was finally unlocked by him. At the moment when he untied the battle, Baiji was very proud, and the world would soon be swelled by him. And that woman, playing with silly white sweet feelings again and again, and now he finally left Filagu. He had to play with that woman's body and mind to let the woman know that some people could not provoke it. and the immortals who shot at him that day, he wants to chop them all one by one, killing them all. Baiji, who had cracked all the large arrays, jumped out of the valley, standing on Jokai with a negative hand, with a proud look of breeze. He even thought about his future in the world. During this time, he was completely distorted by bricks, and he just wanted to smash all the people in the world into flesh. Unfortunately, before he finished thinking about it, the brick smashed on his head and stunned him. When he was unconscious, the black gas flowing from his body was sucked into the mouth by the brick. After sucking off the black gas on Baiji's body, the brick was hit on Baiji's body again, hitting people to the bottom again. Yanj was born prematurely, and had no wings to repair. The valley bottom was too deep and very steep. She couldn't climb at all. She was staring up at the steep mountain wall and wondering if Baiji would come back to find her. Ji's body fell off and hit the open space beside her. Fortunately, Baiji became a rusty dagger when he landed, avoiding the fate of being crushed into flesh. When Baiji was awake again, he stared at the small white snake around him. Before he got up, the little white snake crawled on his shoulders, and then shook his hair with the tail of the snake. The big array is untied, why don't you leave, waiting to be blocked by those people live. Baiji. He squeezed his fingers tightly. Sooner or later, one day, he must eat her. There was a brick in his hair, and a snake squatting on his shoulder. Baiji felt that he was not chic, handsome, and elegant when he thought about his picture. But these two animals are not what he can throw, he can only endure. This kind of self is not suitable to appear in front of those hypocritical cultivators. So Baiji wanted to promote Jiu to get the two beasts on his body, and then go to Xiaoxian. With this in mind, Baiji left the Xianjian school at the fastest speed before the immortals came, and entered the largest World of Warcraft forest in the immortal world. He is practicing magic now, and his practice is too troublesome and wastes time. It is better to go to the magic core to suck, or find some good practitioners to suck. However, he really did not want to appear in front of people, and can only use the first method. The deepest part of the World of Warcraft forest is some high-level Warcraft, and the cultivators will not enter it to ask for trouble. But Baiji wanted to improve his cultivation, so he was looking for a high-level Warcraft. Deep in the forest of Warcraft was his only choice. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 124. To the surprise of Baiji, in this World of Warcraft forest that Warcraft traveled all over, he has been quiet all around since entering, let alone high-level Warcraft, even those birds and beasts have not been seen. What happened? Obviously, these Warcraft are much sharper than humans. Although the small white dragon of Yanj is very weak and has a weak breath, the host is the descendant of ancient Shenlong. The blood pressure alone can make Warcraft tremble and avoid. Warcraft Forest not only has Warcraft, but also various natural treasures. The host previously ran through the forest of Warcraft with the heroine. The heroine was very lucky. You can meet the baby everywhere, and they are also some unique and very rare treasures. Yan Ji stood on Baiji's shoulder and directed Baiji to turn left and right. Because she was worried about the bricks and what she was eating, Yan Ji basically jumped off Baiji's shoulders to eat those natural treasures. She has been hungry from the time she entered the plane. Today she ate a lot, rubbed her belly, and Yanj wrapped herself around Baiji's neck, and hung her head comfortably and sat full. Baiji. He really couldn't stand it anymore. He came to the World of Warcraft to find Warcraft, not to find the food for this guy. He could even feel that his breath became stronger and stronger after eating those little white snakes. This snake is improving its strength, but he, not only hasn't improved, but has been like a funnel, straightening down. This way, Baiji has always been a black face. I don't know how long I walked in the forest of Warcraft, and suddenly there was a human voice in front. The red flame beast is going to hide in the hole, Yahan, come out soon. Is this the heroine's voice? The words were stunned for a moment. Apparently, Baiji also noticed this voice. He looked down at his sharp black robe, but wanted to come forward and taunt in front of the woman, but when he thought of the snake around his neck and the bricks on his hair, he immediately dispelled this idea. He didn't want to be found so frustrated, especially the woman who turned around silly and sweet. When the partial speech song heard the 3 words of red flame beast, his eyes brightened, and the tip of his tail poked Baiji's cheeks. Go and see. Baiji didn't move. You go. Yanj sneered, aren't you afraid to see your sweetheart? After waiting for Baiji to speak, she patted Baiji's head and said, you have to be bold if you like someone. You are more women than women, and you have to be a monkey to catch a woman. It was that silly white sweet who liked the woman, and he didn't like it. He was so tall. No woman in the world deserves his love. Baiji was educated by a snake, and his face turned red with anger. What nonsense, I didn't like her. Men's husband dares to be a dare, doesn't it just like a woman, is it so? Yanji really can't understand this kind of brain circuit, just master and apprentice, isn't it really messy/ethnic, as for putting a shackle on himself? How tired to live. Her tail poked Baiji's cheeks, you won't even have the courage to meet that woman, is it because she empathizes, doesn't fall in love with other men? Go, even if she likes others, you can grab it back. She wanted to like you at first, but now it's okay to empathize. Let us ask her and see what she explains. Baiji's eyes turned red instantly, blood red and blood red. She dared to like others, I'm going to shoot her corpse into pieces. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 125. The sound of gritting teeth frightened the words. Baiji, it seems that there has never been any dissatisfaction with the heroine. Is it because of demonization, that Baiji's appetite is stronger? This is also good. Yanj is very happy that Baiji can be motivated to compete for pets. Baiji's words fell, and he walked through the woods and appeared in front of a waterfall where Xianglinger made a sound. Xianglinger's breath was a little weak. He seemed to be injured. He was pulled by an arm. Yanj guessed that she had been fighting with the red flame beast, and Yahanyu avoided the red flame beast and entered the cave. Now that the red flame beast had entered the cave, it was bound to collide with Yahanyu, so Xianglinger was so nervous. Red flame beasts are male and female, most of the time they are double out. Xianglinger didn't enter the cave to help Yahanyu, but guarded outside the cave. It must be another that went out for food and didn't return. As soon as Baiji appeared, Xianglinger suddenly opened his eyes in surprise, muttering incredibly, Master. After the words fell, tears flew towards Baiji immediately. Master, you finally came out, I miss you so much. Baiji didn't wait for her to approach, and reached out and grabbed the swinging brick behind her hair and smashed at Xianglinger. This watery Yanghua-hooked woman is so disgusting that he is going to smash it into mud. Obviously, the brick did not respond. Baiji was so brave that he used it as a weapon. However, after hitting Xianglinger, the slab immediately found that the fortune of this person was very bad, much greater than the fortune of those who smashed it last time. So it didn't resist, Renbeizi used it as a weapon. Baiji's face was embarrassed, but the slab was extremely enjoyable. If he had 5 features, his face must be lazy and lame. Baiji smashed Xianglinger with a brick, but he obviously did not want to stop. He grabbed Xianglinger's shoulder with one hand to prevent the woman from falling to the ground, and smashed it with a brick in his other hand. The scowling expression on his face gave Yanj the urge to smash Xianglinger to death. Hey, don't smash it. Hey, Baiji, this is your favorite woman. You will regret it if you kill her. Baiji heard the words, and suddenly smiled. His eyes were cold, and the smile looked really somber. The deity will not like this woman, and only the fool will be turned around by playing. He smashed the woman to death, and the guy stopped. Baiji, stop! Yan Ji saw that the more he said his eyes became red, the magic of his body was more evil, and he wrapped his body around Baiji's neck and shouted, "Small brick, you come back." After all, the brick is still a bit verbal, and it is full today, and it is no longer willing to be Baiji's thug, so I heard Yan Ji break away from Baiji's palm and swing it in Baiji's hair. But Baiji didn't want to miss this opportunity to kill Xiang Linger, and realized that the guy in the consciousness was struggling so hard. He sneered and murmured, "So care about her? Then I'll let her be buried for you." The words fell into his own rusty dagger and stabbed at Xiang Linger's brows. "Stop him," shouted the words that fell to the ground. The brick opened his mouth subconsciously, chewing Baiji, who turned into a dagger, into his mouth. The tasteful sample is like chewing gum. After seeing the brick stopping people, Yan Ji's heart was finally put down. Hemp eggs. After this white only blackened, how can there be a tendency to destroy it if it is not available? Men are terrible. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 126. Baiji still called, "Let's go out." It was only a few days before he was smashed by a brick, and obviously his temper grew again. Yan Ji ignored his roar. She was thinking about whether to bandage for Xiang Linger, who was full of blood and still unconscious. Dare to hurt, look for death. Ye Hanyu just rushed out of the cave under the waterfall. At a glance, he saw Xiang Linger lying in a coma on the ground. There was only the snake smell of Yanj around him, so he immediately put Xiang Linger's injured pot on Yanj's head. Before he landed, he pulled up two swords and rushed towards Yanj. Probably when I was fighting with the red flame beast inside the cave, I was also injured, and I found that Xiang Linger's breath was weak. Ye Hanyu was completely violent at this moment. And he did not hide the magic that had been sealed by himself. The male protagonist Ye Hanyu is a demon repairer, and even the female lead's devotion to the demon had his credit. However, the male lead has been covering up well, and no one has ever known that he is a demon, and even the female lead has been kept in the dark. Neither of the two swords hurt the words. With a wave of his furious Ye Hanyu's hand, the dark air of a subgroup of devil fluttering flew towards the words. But when they were close to the body of Yanj, these magical cheese turned around like a nemesis and did not dare to step into the silk. Ye Hanyu was well informed, and immediately understood that Yanj's body was demonizing. He sneered to recover the magic, and the sword in his hand cut to Yanj again. The song swelled up, but before she confronted Yehan's sword, the brick first opened her mouth and clicked to make the Yuezhan sword in Yehan's hand become a slag. In Yehan's surprised eyes, a brick patted Yehan's head. Ye Hanyu in the air shook his body for 2 times, but eventually failed to hold it, and fell to his knees beside Xiang Linger. He looked up, staring gloomily at the brick beside Yanj. Yanj also said to Ye Hanyu, "The red flame beast is guarding a 10,000-year-old blood lotus. Now it's in your hands. I want this woman to survive and hand over the blood lotus." Ye Hangzi realized with a look of understanding that this was also a beast robbery only by fire. This blood lotus is beneficial to Xiang Linger's cultivation. He and Xiang Linger spent 9 cattle to find the 10,000-year-old blood lotus. At this moment, how could he easily hand over the blood lotus? He heard the words and said, "If I can get the blood lotus," the red flame beast snarled and rushed out. "If you want to find the blood lotus, go to the cave by yourself, but remind you that the red flame beast is in the cave. Keep it." Xiang Linger is smart and cunning. Obviously, Ye Hanyu is a more cunning guy than Xiang Linger. Yanj stared at him, "If you don't hand it over, I can smash her into meat in front of you." The words fell to the brick next to him, "Brick, come on. Yahangsuan had relieved in a sigh of relief. He turned around and ran while holding Xianglinger at the exit of his words. The brick spit the dagger in his mouth toward Yahanyu. The dagger became Baiji in midair. When Baiji saw that Xianglinger was being held by Yahan's hang, his palm became claws, and he grasped from Yahanzang's back to Yahanzang's heart. Feeling the murderous power behind him, Yahanyu twisted his body, and disappeared into the void instantly by the method of blood sacrifice of magic cultivation. Baiji immediately disappeared with him. Before disappearing, the words and bricks seemed to feel something, and they all flew towards Baiji. One entangled Baiji's neck, and the other bit his hair. Bai's Hickson, who originally wanted to take the opportunity to shake off the two animals/life, really beeped the dog. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 127. They are all magic repairs. Baiji is obviously a little bit higher than Yahanyu's repair. So even though Yahanshan shuttled through a few space holes, Baiji, who was behind him, kept him up. It turned out that the little white snake belonged to your lord. Yahanyu stared at Baiji with a sneer. Linger always said that his lord was very good to her, and he always wanted to help you to unleash the dragon's formation. Your Excellency is quite good at disguising. Baiji didn't bother to talk to Yahanyu, a thief who didn't even have a name. In addition, he felt that he was not in a good manner and was not suitable for being seen, so he did not wait for Yahanyu to finish his speech. He reached out and stabbed countless black swords in his hand toward Yahanyu. Xianglinger opened his eyes stupidly, and saw a black and white Baiji. Master, she called Baiji, her eyes red again. Master, what's the matter with you? Don't you know me anymore? I'm Linger, I'm your apprentice. Her master was facing her sword, and Xianglinger felt very heartbroken at this moment. He has fallen into the magic, and he has already denied his 6 relatives, let alone you. Yahanyu comforted Xianglinger. He is no longer your master, so don't be sad. This reassuring remark was like inserting a knife in the heart of Xianglinger. She broke away from Yahanyu and rushed to Baiji. I do believe it, I do believe that master disowns me. Master, have you forgotten me? I'm your favorite little apprentice, I'm Linger. Yahan's eyes behind her suddenly became cold. Yanj found that when Xianglinger shouted these words, Baiji's body suddenly trembled. She was wrapped around his neck, and she could clearly feel the change of Baiji. At this moment, his body was full of tension, as if it would explode in the next moment. Baiji's lips clenched tightly. At the next moment, he looked at Xianglinger's eyes suddenly softened, and the black gas around him disappeared at this moment. Even those murderous magic swords disappeared at this moment. He said to Xianglinger, I won't ignore you as a teacher, you. He hadn't finished speaking yet, and the whole man stayed still. Xianglinger stepped forward and wanted to hold Baiji's hand. Although there were tears on his face, he smiled. I know master will not deny me. Master, we will never be apart again. There are many interesting places in this world, you must not have been. Her hand just touched Baiji's hand. Baiji's eyes turned red again the next moment, and the dark air in his brows was looming. He quickly grasped Xianglinger's shoulder with one hand and dug into Xianglinger's heart with the other. Yahanyu shouted and rushed up, Linger. Yanj also called, smash him. The brick slammed into Baiji's head one night. Baiji passed out. Xianglinger knelt down and hugged Baiji in his arms. Master, master, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with you? The next moment she turned her eyes and stared at Baiji's neck. Song, what are you doing? What's wrong with my master? Without waiting for Yan Ji to answer, a sword appeared in her hands and aimed at Yan Ji's small head. What is the purpose of you following my master? Come on, or I will chop you. Yanj hasn't responded yet. The bricks have been clicked on Xiang Linger's head, knocking people out again. Yahanyu stood aside and stared at Yan Song with a complex look. What artifact is this? Leaving aside some big flaws, bricks are really a powerful artifact. Yanj went around Baiji's neck, stood on Baiji's face and said to Yahanyu, Blood Lotus, aren't you going to give it to me yet? Yahanshang didn't expect that the snake still remembered the Blood Lotus, and before he responded, the bricks had whistled and hit him on the back of his head. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 128. The three luckiest characters in this plane all bowed to their feet. Yanj Song shook his little tail so proudly. She searched for Yahanyu's body, swallowed the blood lotus, and swallowed it. Feeling the tremendous energy that the blood lotus gave her, she snored comfortably, and then wrapped it around Baiji's neck again. It seemed that Baiji's neck was a nest. When Baiji was awake, he opened his eyes and saw Xiang Linger lying in front of him. The blackness in his eyebrows became weaker, but still absent. He stared at Xiang Linger's face for a long time. The face was calm, but the bottom of his eyes was a tumbling blood-red color. When he was about to reach out to attack Xiang Linger again, the brick pulled his hair. This is warning him. Thinking of being held back by a brick 3 or 2 times, Baiji's heart was upset. Since Xiang Linger and Yahanyu couldn't be killed, he didn't delay time and simply turned away and planned to find a place to practice. He really can't stand this brick. But the song does not give Baiji the time to cultivate. She directs Baiji, wrong and wrong, go this way, there will be a peach blossom city, now it is the season of peach blossoms, let's go and see. She ate the blood lotus and only needed the right time to advance, so she was not in a hurry to find any other treasures. Baiji was indignant to refute, but there was a brick staring at his hair, and he couldn't even say what he refused. Can only endure. Peach Blossom City is full of handsome men and pretty women. Yan Ji is curious about the food in the city. Of course, the bricks are more curious than her. Baiji passed all the way, the bricks were all the wind and the clouds were eating, so there were countless stall owners pulling him for spirit stones. Baizhigi is the Zhenchan emperor of the Xianjian school. There will be a lot of fairy treasures in his pocket, but there is no such thing as spirit stone. So he had to go to the shops and pull the magic pawns in his storage bag. But really, embarrassed. He wanted to smash all the guys who dared to pull his clothes, but the snake entangled in his neck couldn't bear to warn him. Hemp eggs have never been more like this. Into the earthly atmosphere, Baiji felt that every step he took was a shame. He really wanted to cover himself with a piece of cloth from head to toe, lest he think of this dark history in the future. At the restaurant, he had not yet exited, and the snake on his neck had crackled and ordered a table. As soon as the dish was on the table, he hadn't had time to move the chopsticks. The shameless rotten brick and the wind and the clouds would eat all the dishes on the table instantly. Even the rice bowl was licked clean, leaving no grain of rice. When the shop younger came in to clean up, he was obviously shocked. I didn't expect that the guests who looked full of fairy smell would eat like this, and there was not even half a drop of soup left. Baiji walked out of the restaurant with the eyes of Xiao Er, who vowed that he would never enter such a restaurant again. But just after taking a few steps, he heard the little white snake wrapped around his neck crying in his ear again, this shop has so many people, the dishes in it must be very delicious. Baiji didn't want to move, but the brick on the back was pushing him. In addition to hitting this guy, he will push even more, and his progress is really fast. The two animals/births around him are improving, but the improvement of these two guys is based on his regression. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 129. Baiji was really upset, but he didn't have the ability to refuse, so he entered the shop with a black face. Yanj's tail jabbed Baiji's chin, put away your coercion. Look, everyone is scared by you. If you click, you're black-faced. Everyone thinks you're not here to eat, but to seek revenge. The words of Yan Ji did not avoid everyone. The guests in the lobby laughed. Of course, most of them are flattering laughs. Because the pressure of Bai Ji's release was too heavy, they trembled in their hearts, but did not want to miss such an opportunity to meet Bai Ji, so he braved the fear of his heart and exaggerated, "This spirit beast of the senior, it's rare and it's fun to talk. Yeah, when my predecessor came in, I thought the predecessor had a white scarf around his neck. I didn't expect it to be a snake. Seniors must love the snake so much, otherwise they won't let it rest on your neck." Bai Ji's fingers were squeezed tightly and released. He really wanted to explode in minutes. The expressionless Bai Ji went upstairs and went into the box. The snake on his neck had happily drank all the famous dishes in the shop. The corner of Bai Ji's mouth twitched at the spirit stone in his pocket. This time when Xiao entered the shop, Bai Ji already took his chopsticks. He spent so many spirit stones and became famous, he couldn't eat without a bite. However, when Xiao Er brought the food in, his chopsticks were lifted, and the dishes on the table were clean. This brick is almost like a baby. How can such a thing live in the world? It should be destroyed humanely. Bai Ji's eyes were angry and stared at the brick. The mouth of the brick was rattling, and the cheeky bulging did not know what it was chewing. It was very delicious. Bai Ji couldn't stare. He couldn't eat anything. He just put down his chopsticks and asked the little white snake on his neck, "Where did you get this brick?" This is a past that cannot be recalled for Yanj. Her thousands of years of soul have bred such a brick of eating and drinking, and talking out can make people laugh. Yan Song, I use the mud to pinch. Bai Ji apparently didn't believe this. Really? Yanj laughed, haha, of course it is fake. Do you think this kind of brick can be changed by mud? Bai Ji felt fooled by the snake. His face was foul, his lips were silent for a long time, he couldn't bear it anymore, and asked, "How can you appear at the bottom of the valley? Is this brick your companion animal?" Many natural treasures will have associated beasts when they are born. Although the brick is her own destiny, the companion beast is quite suitable for the explanation that the brick follows her, so she nodded and praised Bai Ji, "You are quite smart." Bai Ji squinted slightly. "You shouldn't be a snake. After all, a snake is not qualified for any companion beast." He seemed to think of something, and stared down at the brick on the table slowly and said, "There is a dragon egg before Phi Long Peak, and it hasn't hatched for many years. You can appear at the bottom of the valley, but you can't do it." He replied without saying a word, and said, "Crawling out of the dragon egg, but it looks like a snake. It should be inadequate. The companion beast is even stronger than you. It is because it has swallowed up all your abilities. Will you weak it strong?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 130. Bai Ji's words are quite correct in some respects. Yan Ji's head rested on his ear, and he opened his mouth and yawned, "I'm really weak now, but there are many ways to improve my strength. When you and the bricks are full and drink, we will look for me to improve approach." Not at all affected by Bai Ji's words. Bai Ji didn't say anything, his fingers under the table were squeezed tightly together. This is a dragon. If this dragon is contracted by him, then he can not only toss the dragon well, but also go out riding the dragon and have more face. Now this dragon is an infant, it is a good opportunity for a contract, as long as he can get around that brick. Bai Ji smiled suddenly. He reached out and patted the bricks on the table. "Are you full? Do you still want to eat? Would you like to order another table?" The brick jumped and stepped on Bai Ji's palm, jumping a few times. It may be coquettish, but it's too heavy. Bai Ji's wrist almost didn't break. Bai's Hixiao really reluctantly, it seems that I still want to eat. He called for another table, and while waiting, he bowed his head and asked the song on his neck, "Do you have a name?" Without waiting for the words to speak, he said, "Presumably there isn't it? If your body is so white, why not just call you Bai? The name is not so bad." So Yanj swallowed it, then Little White. Baiji laughed, and was quite contented in his eyebrows. In his opinion, the beast is a beast after all, and the IQ is still worrying. Xiaozuan can eat it. Baiji reached out and poked the poem's head. "Fortunately, I am here, or Xiao Bai will not be able to feed it." Yanj's tail smashed the back of Baiji's head. "Don't be big or small, call me senior. I hate being touched." Yanji stared at Baiji with a smile. This guy's blackened belly had bad water. I guess he is still thinking about how to eat her. Baiji thought very good, but unfortunately, the world was not as good as he expected. This way he was like the servant of the little white dragon and the brick, let alone the dragon of the contract. He couldn't even improve his cultivation. He could obviously feel that the magic in his body was getting weaker and weaker, that silly white sweet, and he was more powerful in his consciousness recently. He had to make himself strong as soon as possible. He had to kill that little white dragon as soon as possible. With regard to Baiji's thoughts, Yanj never ignored it. At first, her body was too small to wrap around Baiji's neck. Later, after being promoted once, her body was thick and she wrapped around Baiji's neck twice. But after the second promotion, her body was able to circle around Baiji's waist so much. The body is gratifying, and Yanj can only be put on Baiji's shoulders like a thick scarf. A thick and long snake hangs on his shoulders, and a brick is falling behind his hair. Such a white stop is a beautiful scenery everywhere. This also led to his dark face, who provoked Lao Tzu to death. After the second promotion, Yan Ji took Baiji to Shenlong Valley, which is located in the gap between the spaces. Although Baiji is a hindrance, fortunately, Yan's current status is stronger than that of her host, and she still has artifact tiles around her, so although the road to Shenlong Valley is difficult, this road is considered assured. Yanj went into Shenlong Valley with tiles and Baiji smoothly. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 131. As soon as he entered the valley, Baiji fainted under the mighty power of the dragon in the valley. A loud dragon rumbling sounded in the ear, accompanied by the sound of this dragon rumor. In front of Yan's song, there appeared a flying dragon. She felt as if she had also given birth to wings, soaring and playing with the dragons in the sky. Everything looked so beautiful, and the dragons screamed joyfully everywhere. However, as soon as the screen turned around, countless heavenly thunders raged on Dragon Valley, and countless dragons screamed and died in the thunder. In the thunderous thunder, a dragon egg cursed by the head of the Shenlong family was taken out of the Dragon Valley by a human cultivator. My son, after waiting so long, you finally returned, and the dragon family will depend on you in the future. A huge force crashed into the body of Yanj. Her serpentine body seemed to be unsealed at the next moment, and the body quickly transformed and grew. This metamorphosis is very painful, and the bones are painfully pulled. Yanji doesn't know how long it hurts. When she finally woke up from the painful chaos, she unexpectedly noticed that not only did she transform into a very thick and burly little white dragon, she also reached the estrus/estrus period. The first puberty/estrus of the adult dragon. Yanji did not expect this state. She flew a circle in the midair of the Dragon Valley, then landed, and her eyes fell on Baiji's body. Baiji has been awake from the coma. He is in this valley of dragons, and the magic in his body is suppressed and strong, let alone cultivation. He is even unable to carry a little breath. At this moment, when he saw a white dragon approaching him, he stepped back subconsciously, his heart fluttered, and he did not know whether the dragon would eat him or eat him. Yanj narrowed his body slightly, and then lay beside Baiji, with big eyes squinting at him. Should you sit up and try? There is only one such male in Shenlong Valley, although it is a little weak, but it is better than nothing. Although there are no other female dragons in Shenlagu to rob a male with her, the routine courtship before Huanhao is still required. The sound of Baiji is still quite familiar, but he can't respond to this content. The little white snake finally transformed into a little white dragon, and, even, asked him to ride. Riding a dragon, this is something he has imagined countless times. Now it has come true. The dream came true, but he didn't feel a little bit of joy, but he was a little hesitant. Ride on your back. Yan Ji nodded, yes. Bai's Hixuan cheered, and immediately crawled towards Yan Ji's back. After he caught it, Yanj leaped into the air, causing Baiji to scream. Baiji's hair was flying, and the whole person seemed to be dancing. He didn't care about the brick that was pulling his hair. At this moment, he was holding the little white dragon tightly, and he didn't even dare to spit. Breathing, there is always the illusion that if you let go, you will fall down. He couldn't run the magic in this dragon valley. Once he fell, he would smash into flesh. The rise of Yang Yuan, sometimes the body soared to the highest point, and sometimes fell down. Baiji's body and mind are like riding a roller coaster, his heartbeat is almost gone. When Yanj swooped down again, when she was about to land, she turned into a humanoid and took Baiji in her arms. Throwing the obstructive brick behind Baiji's hair, she asked Baiji, who still closed her eyes, like it? Baiji's face was pale, and his body was still shaking. He couldn't tell if he heard his teeth tremble. Yan Ji's fingers squeezed his chin, and he bowed his head and kissed him. As long as you like, I will often take you to fly in the future.